Flying high at the Catalunya circuit outside Barcelona are the McLaren team, who have bounced right back here. Mika Hakkinen, the world champion, with his first victory of 2000, followed home by David Coulthard. What a really brave drive by the Silverstone winner. Rubens Barrichello, third, fourth. Well, that victory really meaning a lot to the world champion there. Martin Brundle has joined myself and Tony up in the studio. I mean, he's not the most loquacious at the best of times, is he? But he was really struggling to get the words out there at the start. Was that exhaustion or what?
I think Mika struggles a bit in the English language, which is understandable. But
our Finnish isn't too bright, I have to say.
Exactly. But he's not a particularly vociferous person, but it was unusual for him to say, hang on a minute, before I answer that, I want to come back in and say something else. So it's not, I've never heard Mika do that before. There was some points he wanted to, some buttons he wanted to hit in that little press conference and thank his team, because they did do a good job.
Now, David Coulthard, I mean, he was hurting physically. Goodness knows what was going in there mentally before the race, but physically this was a very, very tough afternoon for him, and he came through it really well.
He did. I think he made the mistake in the pit stop. Obviously, we spotted he had a slow stop, but we didn't see why exactly. David obviously was slow away or didn't hook first gear up or something. I noticed his pit lane limiter came on very late, so maybe he'd switched it off by mistake or something like that. But the team got him track position ahead of Barrichello and Ralph, and it just gave him a second win. You could see that, and he was homing in on Michael, which was slightly injured prior at the time. We now think it's because of the slow puncture, although they're saying it's low pressure rather than punctured, which is interesting in itself. We need Inspector Clouseau around there, I think, to work that one out. But I think that his adrenaline would have pumped him up again. It's amazing what you can do with a bit of adrenaline, but when you pass the line and it all starts fading away, then the pain comes in.
And you get tired. Tony, let's have a look at the start here. I mean, for a long time, this race looked as though it was all going to go according to plan, and we're in for a repeat of last year's bore.
Yeah, but just look at the way Michael Schumacher moved right across there for protection, and then Ralf Schumacher, the star of the start and one of the stars of the race, they're moving right inside, and we're going to see more of the brotherly love or not a little bit later on, but incredibly aggressive start from Ralf, absolutely superb, and the power of the BMW. Of course, at this stage, we're seeing Ralf at the BMW ahead of the Mercedes as well for the first time, which must have been dramatic. Button making a great move as well, because he got up to 9th place. Amazingly clean start, because you've got this super long straight where they can really gun it all the way down there to the Elf Bend and into the S's. But look at them forcing out onto the line, and there is Ralf flying past. He's gone past Barrichello, he's gone past David Coulthard as well, and back he has a go. And this was the frightening bit. Could this have been 97 all over again at the Nürburgring when he took his brother out, when Michael was on his championship charge? That blunted his charge at the time.
Sure. Before we look at the pit stop, the Michael Schumacher pit stop, I mean, you have been in charge of those pit crews, and you know exactly the adrenaline that flies around down there building up to a pit stop.
Yeah, but it's worse now because the races are won and lost in the pits. You know, the Grand Prix may as well happen in the pit lane, and these guys are now seriously training. We had a feature before the start of the race with Bernie Shrewsbury and this Human Performance Centre. Guys have really got to get fit, and that's why Stepney's had to get fit. And, you know, this is a real problem. And Martin identified, you look at the Lollipop Man, look, now the hose isn't off, but he lifts up and then tries to put it back down. And poor Nigel Stepney, who's a great mate of mine, I work with him at Lotus Benetton, all sorts of places. Ironically, there he is. He's the Englishman that's knocked that crew into shape. He's the guy being responsible for all their training. And it's one of his own men that lets him down, the Lollipop Man down there. Now, I can't quite see whether the rear wheel goes over his head. It just looks like it knocks his kneecap, which of course is even worse for him as well. It could be ligaments or something like that. There he is, poor Nigel.
But as soon as that lollipop goes up, as a driver, you've got to go. You're gone, aren't you?
It's a hair trigger, and you depend totally on that man. You can't. There's so much action going on around the car, and the car's such a stiff thing that, you know, as the wheel guns are on each tyre and the refueling on and off, the car's moving anyway, so you can't identify which movement is which. So you depend totally on that man. You can't see anything in your mirrors. It's filled up with your mechanics' overalls working on your car. I had exactly the same thing happen to me in a sports car race once.
Really?
It's the reflex action. They went to pull the refuel off and it didn't come off first time. The Lollipop Man's hair trigger reflex is up, and we all know about Schumacher's reflexes. I can now see why Michael didn't hesitate, because actually it brushed the Nigel Stepney to one side. It didn't run over him as such, the lollipop man panicked, of course, and just about slapped him on top of the head.
Okay, well, we can actually hear from Nigel Stepney. We saw him being carried away there, and, well, obviously smiling, recovering, and talking to Louise Goodman.
Nigel, how are you feeling?
Better now than before.
Is there any damage?
It's just stretched a ligament or broken a ligament. It's just swollen a little bit.
It must have been a very, very nasty moment, frightening moment.
Well, I think what I remember of it, yeah.
And your thoughts for the man who's had to take over from you?
Very many.
Were you watching whilst you were in the medical centre?
Yeah, I saw what happened.
Well, we're glad you're all right anyway, Nigel.
Thank you.
It's great to see Nigel Stepney smiling there. We will see, of course, what happened when he wasn't around when you rejoin us. We also have the result of our competition, and we will be talking to Michael Schumacher. See you shortly. You're back with us in Barcelona. Let's take a look at this absolutely crucial second stop then for Michael Schumacher. Nigel Stepney carried out of the pits, and Andrea Vicari, the guy given the responsibility. Tony, you first.
Well, we're not sure what the problem was, whether the flap didn't open or whatever. We're getting some information from James that maybe was the case, but whatever it was, they couldn't get that hose on properly. And both of them had come in at the same time, so it was the battle of the pit lane, the battle of the Grand Prix. And over 10 seconds, we found out that Michael Schumacher lost in there. The trouble is, mechanical or otherwise, Ferrari will be panned in Italy for that. The crew will be panned for it. And as Nigel Stepney says, what happens in the village of Maranello after the race, he said, if we've done badly, none of us go out, because you get in such trouble in the village. If you do well, you go out, everyone buys you drinks. You know when they only had 3 wheels on the wagon last year?
Correct.
They put a wheel in the middle of the town square and said, we found the wheel for you.
They would like to put somebody in the stocks as well, and Senor Vicari might be the fella, but perhaps he's got a good case on his own behalf.
Somebody's telling a few fibs here. The flap was clearly up when we just saw that replay, which is the first time I've seen the replay. The flap was up as he came in. But, you know, the man's thrust in to refuel Michael Schumacher's Ferrari. Well, he's leading a Grand Prix, leading the World Championship. He had one shot at getting a very heavy refueling rig on square, and we should all go and try it sometime. I'd like to give. I have tried it once.
Perhaps we'll do that next time round.
It is not easy.
Yeah. Now then, Michael Schumacher again. He was having a bit of a problem with one of his tyres, but David Coulthard, I mean, he wasn't to know that, but he was really swarming all over him, and he finally got his man, Martin.
Yes, David's just got this thing in his mind that he can overtake Michael Schumacher whenever he needs to, and he won't let go. And this is the first one that David said, I'm a bit surprised how late he decided to move over. To be honest, I think Michael was completely fair there in what he did. Michael wrestling the Ferrari. And what's now clear is he had a low left rear tyre pressure, which was giving Coulthard a run on him at a crucial point onto that pit straight. And Michael then knew with the poor handling car, if he tried to dive up the inside, he would simply have run straight into the McLaren. And he had to yield, and David was very positive. David said something interesting. He said, I caught him quickly and I wanted to pounce straight away. There we see it again. David then on the correct part of the racetrack, so he knows he can turn in, he knows exactly how much grip he's going to have, and there'll be a satisfied grin on his face behind that.
That's 2 races running. He's done that to a Ferrari. Is he a more confident type of guy these days?
He seems to be, doesn't he? He's prepared to have a go. And what's frustrating for me is seeing all of those people when they're following another Formula One car, and you think, well, have a go, for goodness sake, have a go, give Murray something to talk about, you know? And they seem to be just holding station. And then they get ahead and they just disappear into the distance.
Yeah, this is the place, of course, where you're not supposed to overtake, isn't it? So he's laid that one, hasn't he? What about these old Schumachers up here then? I mean, the brotherly love bit went out of the window, but a tough choice. I mean, you either look after your brother or you look after your team.
Yeah, but you see, Michael Schumacher, again, he's been panned in the Italian press and in the UK press for going soft on his brother after the British Grand Prix and not having a go at him when he went inside him at Bridge. This was not only tactical, but he got involved on the outside, almost his left front there on the side pod of his brother Ralf Schumacher. No love lost whatsoever. And Barrichello diving through and taking the 3rd place. But Ralf is extremely, look at this here, sliding away all over the place. Just sensational stuff between the two brothers. But the fact is that Michael does look out for his younger brother, and he does tend to give a little bit away. He's looked after him all his life. He says he always gets his own way, and here he's almost getting his own way then again. But Rubens Barrichello earns the place from this particular... Look at that.
Martin, you're smiling looking at all that. I get the impression you'd have loved to have been among that little lot.
I would have loved to have been in there, to be honest, but that is the soap opera part of Formula One that just makes me smile. I really did enjoy all of that, and Michael's... I hope he did it on purpose, to be honest, because it was a very skillful piece of driving to move other people's Formula One cars around whilst controlling your own and allowing your teammate to take position.
Give us an insight into that chat you were speculating about between the two brothers that's going on now then.
I don't know. I mean, they're both quite strong-minded people. I don't know what mum and dad say sitting on the settee at home. Sort of, I don't know which side they'll take on it, whether they'll take Big Brother's side or what. But it's a simple fact. Ferrari pay Michael Schumacher tens of millions, or have him paid by various sponsors, tens of millions of dollars to drive their car and drive for their team. And I think there's a big thing today, and it shows the Stepney thing and the pit stop thing. A racing driver, a Grand Prix driver, can't always win Grand Prix by himself. You need all of the team players around you.
OK, thanks, Martin. Let's hear what Michael Schumacher himself has got to say about it all. Here he is then in conversation with James Allen.
Michael, great news obviously is that Nigel's OK, but a terrible day for you really. You must be quite upset.
No, upset is the wrong word, but a little bit disappointed.
It was was the problem exactly in the middle of the race? I heard that you had some problem with one of the tyres. Is that right?
I had a puncture. Yeah.
You always seem fairly philosophical about it.
How you mean philosophical?
Well, you've lost points today, but it's. You've got
I mean, that was expected. One day it would come for us, would come to us, and today it was the day, unfortunately, but still 2 points and long season to go.
Still a couple of points for him. Jenson Button looked as though he might score here again, but the BMW went right at the end.
Yeah, it did, and I mean, BMW still have some problems, especially with the oil, and they have to change the oil quite regularly in the engines, but there's no question about the power of them, despite that they're heavy, despite that the cars were quite difficult earlier on in the season to drive. But we mustn't forget also he was criticised to a degree by Sir Frank Williams about his focus on the British Grand Prix because of the hype all around him. And as Martin alluded to in his commentary, there's been a lot of press speculation about all sorts of things. Him moving to Monte Carlo, and he doesn't care about UK and Union Jacks and things all going on. Put that all behind him, and he was heading for a championship point.
As I think you mentioned in your commentary, one or two of the tabloids have been giving young Jenson a bit of a slapping over the last couple of days. And has he got to get used to it, or what's the form now from now on in, do you think?
It's a free-for-all out there, isn't it, really? I mean, we're busy as racing drivers trying to race each other on the track, and the newspapers are busy trying to get the next headline, and they seem to have no bounds as to where they will go to do that, to sell. And even the motor racing specialist press are becoming almost tabloid in the way they go about it. I mean,
lots of people watch it. It's big business, Martin. I can tell you that.
That's fair enough. I mean, it's fair game, and you have to watch out for it. They've got a job to do. We've got a job to do, but it sort of creates a bit of a war in the end.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Let's just to remind you how things look now. Then in the Drivers' Championship, he's still well clear, isn't he? Schumacher 14 points, but the McLaren's catching up. David Coulthard back in third. Then Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher, and Giancarlo Fisichella. OK, now the result of our competition. Thanks very much, by the way. Scores of you entered. It's a great prize, a magnificent sporting doubleheader in a fortnight's time. First, the winner goes to the FA Cup final, Chelsea against Aston Villa. And then next day, you're whisked to the European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring. Johnny Herbert had that emotional win for Stewart there last time round. Second prize assigned Mika Hakkinen helmet and the gloves he wore in his drive at Silverstone, and third prize the corks that David Coulthard popped at the British Grand Prix, and a magnum of champagne as well. Remember, the question we asked you was pretty simple. Bridge Corner is a feature at Silverstone, but which English football club plays at the Bridge? Is it A, Northampton, B, Chelsea, or C, the Villa? Chelsea, the answer, of course, and our big winner is Helen Dixon from Banbury in Oxfordshire. Graham Will gets the Hakkinen helmet and gloves, and the champagne and the corks go to Paul McGee from Blackhall Colliery. Well done to you all, and thanks for your entries. Highlights are coming up later tonight, 11:30. More comment, reaction and analysis in that programme. Repeated as always on ITV2, 7 o'clock tomorrow night. And so we return on Cup final day for the European Grand Prix just before midday for our live qualifying. The race itself building up from 12:15. Highlights at 11:50. And there we are then, McLaren delivering at their favourite circuit. It's another 1-2 for Michael Schumacher and Ferrari, though. This one has been the pits. Bye-bye.
F1 on ITV in association with Texaco.
If you would like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by livesport365.com is